It's 40 degrees Celsius, and I asked my assistant to buy me an iced coffee downstairs. When she came back, she fainted in front of Julian's office, crying that she had heat stroke. Everyone knew that the unattainable Julian was deeply in love with me. And they all whispered about her showing off in front of the real deal, acting foolish. Julian also looked icy. Helping Serafina is already part of your job, don't be ridiculous. But as soon as I got off work, I was dragged to an abandoned asphalt road, my kneecaps smashed, and forced to kneel. Julian, holding Lila, glanced at me. You knew she couldn't stand the heat, yet you deliberately made things difficult for her. I didn't want to embarrass you in the company, but now if you kowtow and apologize to Lila, I won't pursue this matter. Confused by his sudden change, I endured the heart-wrenching pain and asked. She only broke out in a light sweat. She's my assistant, and I pay her 10,000 a day, shouldn't she buy me a drink? But he directly had someone pour a can of gasoline over me. Since you insist on not repenting, then taste the suffering Lila endured. The pungent smell hit me, and I, already sensitive to smells, almost fainted. The person next to me slapped me hard several times to keep me awake. Lila leaned against Julian's chest, barely breathing. Manager Serafina, I'm sorry, my body is too delicate to withstand the high temperature and complete the task you gave me. Julian tenderly stroked her face and tilted the parasol further towards her. But we've been married for 8 years, and he's never held an umbrella for me. Lila, if you feel uncomfortable, go back to the car and wait for me. It's air-conditioned in the car. You'll be more comfortable. She glanced at me timidly. Mr. Julian, I didn't do this well. Please don't make things difficult for Manager Serafina. Her pitiful appearance clearly implied that I had bullied her beyond recognition. Julian frowned and took a few steps in front of me. Lila is your assistant, not your slave. There's a limit to your unreasonable behavior. He raised his foot and stepped on my bloody kneecap, pressing down a little harder. Apologize. In the scorching heat of nearly 50 degrees, I broke out in a cold sweat. I couldn't believe that the man who used to be concerned even if I had a small scratch would be so merciless. Julian, are you crazy? I only asked her to buy a coffee, and you have someone do such an excessive thing to me. The skin touching the ground was stinging, the flesh was sticking to the ground, and I could faintly smell burning meat. The blood stained Julian's leather shoes, and his face darkened. You know that my meniscus is damaged. If this drags on, I'll really be crippled. Hurry up and take me to the hospital. Julian's eyelids twitched, and his expression became hesitant. 3 years ago, Julian said he would take me hiking to watch the sunrise, but he stepped on mud and fell off a cliff. To protect him, my entire knee was twisted, almost causing permanent disability. He had always felt guilty about this, always wanting to compensate me more and more. He reduced the force on his foot, and his tone softened. Serafina, I'm just asking you to apologize. Why are you being so stubborn? Stubborn? I didn't do anything wrong. Why should I apologize? I bit down hard on the flesh inside my lip, trying to stand up. But the shattered kneecaps were so painful that I couldn't exert any strength. Seeing that I was about to fall, Julian instinctively reached out to help me. But Lila's delicate moan came from behind. Lila, the ground is hot. Lila was still half a meter above the ground when Julian rushed over and picked her up, and I lost my support and fell heavily on the scorching ground. All exposed skin immediately felt like it was being branded. Julian held Lila like a princess, looking distressed. I told you to go back to the car and wait for me. What if you get sunburned? I wanted to be with you. I curled up, using the smallest possible area to touch the ground, watching the intimacy between the two, and suddenly felt like a clown. So he knew the ground was hot? Julian looked at me again, and that little bit of concern was gone. He took out a lighter, lit it, and said slowly through the flickering flame, apologize or be burned, choose one. My skin had gone from excruciating pain to numbness, my throat so dry I could barely make a sound. Lila struggled to get down from Julian's arms again. Mr. Julian, please don't force Manager Serafina. Today's matter is my fault. I apologize to Manager Serafina. As soon as she finished speaking, she knelt down in front of me with a thud. Manager Serafina, I'm sorry, I was too spoiled. I promised to be as obedient as I was before. Please, Don't send me to entertain those beastly clients. Her violently trembling voice and shivering body instantly stirred Julian's protective instincts. He looked at me in disbelief, as if wanting to tear me apart. What nonsense are you spouting? My hoarse roar echoed in the heat. Julian, I wouldn't do something like that. But his palm had already struck my face. I thought you were kind and understanding. Even though we have a marriage of convenience, I've treated you well all these years. But now you're abusing your authority and bullying Lila with such disgusting methods. I've really indulged you too much in the past. Now you must pay the price for what you've done. After Julian spoke, the lighter fell from his hand. In the rapidly spreading flames, he cast another cold look at me. From today onwards, leave the company. Staying will only be an eyesore. Mr. Julian, manager Serafina has been with you, building the company to where it is today. She's practically a veteran. Please don't act rashly in a moment of anger. Assistant Lee, who was standing nearby, couldn't bear to see it. But Julian suddenly looked at me fiercely. Lila wasn't wrong. You've been trying to win people over, wanting to replace me one day. Then you can both get out. The fire had already rapidly burned through my clothes. I wanted to run, but my knees couldn't support me to stand up. I covered my red, swollen, and burning face and burst into a wild laugh, as if waking from a dream. 8 years of marriage, yet he always thought of it as just a piece of paper. No matter how the person beside him explained, it couldn't compare to a single slander from his new favorite. From beginning to end, it was just me being sentimental. Crazy woman. Julian cast one last disgusted glance and left with Lila. After they left, Assistant Lee frantically grabbed a fire extinguisher and put out the fire. It took him over 10 minutes to put it out and help me out of the ring of fire. He helped me lean against a car, looking guilty. Manager Serafina. But before he could finish speaking, a group of people with fierce expressions suddenly ran over. The leader roughly dragged me into a dilapidated shack and began tearing at my clothes. Let her go. Assistant Lee rushed up to save me, but the others smashed his head with iron bars, and he fell to the ground in a pool of blood. I struggled to call the police, but a sentence I heard chilled my blood instantly. Your husband is really generous, willing to let us enjoy such a pretty girl. It's a shame her face is burned, it affects the view. Did Julian hire these people? In my moment of distraction, they had already stripped off the last scraps of my clothing. When they saw my knees beaten into a pulp and the ulcerated burns on my skin, they couldn't help but gasp. This president is really ruthless. Cover it with a cloth, it's disgusting to look at. Little girl, don't blame us. We took your husband's money, so we have to do the job, right? I advise you to just obediently withdraw after you go back. Your husband likes that woman by his side very, very much. The hand at my side gradually tightened. So it was really for Lila that he would hurt me like this? Don't be sad, little sister. If your husband doesn't love you, let us brothers take good care of you. The instant the man leaned over, I plunged a long nail deep into his throat. A large amount of blood splattered on my face. The man above me clutched his neck, eyes wide, and collapsed beside me in convulsions. Seeing the situation was wrong, the others scattered and fled. Due to sun exposure, dehydration, and burns, I was extremely weak. I took several deep breaths, suppressing the violent trembling in my hands, and took the phone from the man's body. I made the first call to Silas in 8 years. Brother, can you send some people to pick me up? There was a moment of silence on the other end, followed by a steady, suppressed male voice. Where are you? Silas's men arrived in just 20 minutes and cleaned up the scene. I refused to go to the hospital. After receiving emergency treatment, I had them take me back to the company first. But I didn't expect Julian's office to still be lit up at 11 o'clock at night. The door was half open, and the woman's moans were clearly audible. Julian, slow down, spare me, I can't take it anymore. You little minx, you've been seducing me all day, and now you want mercy? I'm sorry, it's just that when I think about only being able to be by your side as an assistant, I feel sad. Julian's hand stopped, and his previously eager tone turned cold. Lila, I told you from the beginning that my wife will only be Serafina, and there can be no physical relationship between us. Lila's expression froze, and she immediately squeezed out 2 tears. Mr. Julian misunderstood. That's not what I meant. I just want to be by your side and have never asked for anything more. That's good. Julian's expression softened a little, and he asked, am I being too harsh on Serafina? Although she was in the wrong first, her skin is already sensitive. I'm afraid she'll be hurt by being in the sun like that. Listening to his fake concern, my stomach churned. I subconsciously clenched my hands so tightly that I didn't even realize I had burst the blister in my palm. Don't worry, didn't you ask the doctor? It's just sweating. Nothing will happen. Julian was about to say something, but Lila kissed him directly. Julian, let me help you too. I watched as she knelt in front of Julian. Just as she was about to use her teeth to undo his belt, I couldn't hold back any longer and wanted to rush in. But someone covered my mouth and carried me into another room. The man's voice was still cold, but clearly held some anger. This is the person you were willing to break off with me to marry? Silas's gaze swept over my red eyes, peeling skin and mangled knees. His eyes were terrifying, as if he wanted to kill someone. Silas and I depended on each other in the orphanage. Later he saved money himself and started a company. He spent 15 years building his business empire step by step. Having suffered himself, he wouldn't let me suffer even a little. Now seeing me again, I've been hurt so badly by the husband who vowed to love me. Brother, don't touch him yet. Silas frowned. You still want to be with him? No, I want to do it myself. Brother, if he doesn't agree, can I still get a divorce? After a moment of silence, I asked softly. As long as you want to, nothing is impossible. With Silas around, I knew I could achieve anything I wanted. After copying all the files on the computer to a USB drive, Silas took me to the hospital. The damage to my knee was irreversible, and after inserting 5 pins, only conservative treatment was possible. The exposed skin was completely covered in blisters. I fell into a deep sleep after receiving anesthesia. When I woke up, I was back home, and Julian was applying medicine to me. His face was full of heartache, and his hands trembled slightly as he applied the ointment. Seeing that I was awake, he hastily finished applying the last bit of ointment and asked, Serafina, what's the big deal about apologizing to Lila? Did you have to hurt yourself like this? Lila is kind. As long as you apologize to Lila in front of the whole company, she won't blame you anymore. I almost laughed out loud. Wasn't all of this his fault? I won't apologize. Serafina. My words once again provoked Julian's anger. He punched the headboard, and the water glass immediately fell and shattered. Flying shards of glass grazed my face. Blood dripped down my face and Julian panicked. Serafina. He reached for a towel, but Lila pushed the door open at that moment. Manager Serafina, I heard you were injured, so I specially made some chicken soup for you. Don't come over. I felt something was wrong the moment I saw her, but I was still a step too late. The scalding hot soup splashed all over me, and the blisters burst instantly. The newly grown flesh was burned unbearably. I gasped for breath, while Julian immediately pulled her into his arms and carefully checked her. Did you get hurt? My hand seems to be burned, but Manager Serafina seems to have been burned too. I'll take you to the hospital. Julian seemed to have forgotten my existence, and swept her up into his arms. He only turned back when he reached the door. Serafina, call the family doctor to take a look yourself. I'll come back and see you tonight. The room fell silent again. I was sweating profusely from the pain, and the projector in the room suddenly started playing a video. The huge screen displayed their intimacy in full view. Lila, I like you so much. Mr. Julian, don't say that. What if Manager Serafina finds out and leaves you? She won't. Julian quickened his movements. The person who loves me the most in the world is her. No matter what, she can't leave me. I roared with disgust and disappointment, smashing everything I could reach at the projector. The pain in my heart almost overshadowed the physical pain. I remembered clearly that the suit Julian was wearing was an anniversary gift I had given him. He had only worn it for me on that one day. So one second he was in bed saying he loved me, and the next he was immediately pleasing another woman with his hands. While I was sleepless with happiness, he was passionately fighting. My world collapsed. Julian, you're hiding so much from me. After crying my eyes out, I smiled bitterly and smashed everything. Very well, Julian. You destroyed the one who loved you most with your own hands. And I will destroy you too. 2 in the morning. I sent the copied files. In front of the Ming family mansion, a servant bowed, waiting for me. At the innermost side, Silas reached out his hand to me. Welcome home, Mr. Silas. I took Silas's hand and suddenly felt like I was back 10 years. Back then, Silas made his first fortune and happily invited me to join him. But at that time, my heart was only filled with Julian. After rejecting Silas, I took a large portion of his money and went abroad with Julian for further studies. Those were the 2 happiest years of my life. If I casually mentioned Chinese food, he would travel across half the city to buy it for me. Knowing that I valued rituals, he proposed to me under the Eiffel Tower. He said, Serafina, my love for you is as steadfast as this tower. In this lifetime, I will be devoted to you until death. He was so good to me that I really thought he was the one for my whole life. But only 8 years later, he betrayed his promise. For an assistant, he hurt me in the cruelest way possible. The past memories made the reality even more ridiculous, and I couldn't help but laugh self-deprecatingly. A warm touch on my shoulder pulled me out of my memories. Serafina, you are my sister. From now on, I will never let anyone hurt you again. Silas's firm voice echoed in my ears. I nodded, only to realize that my eyes were already full of tears. Brother, thank you for waiting for me. Back home, Silas had already arranged for a doctor to give me a comprehensive checkup. Even with the best doctors, it took a week for my body to gradually recover. After the final checkup, my gaze fell on my phone screen. Serafina, did you leak those documents? Why aren't you replying? Serafina, I'll give you half a day, hurry back. Clean up the mess you made yourself. The messages stopped on the second day after I left. That night, I sent Julian's company's strategic plan for the next quarter to his rival. And Silas took over, injecting capital into the rival company. Overnight, several of Julian's key clients were snatched away. Julian's company's cash flow was already tight, and now it couldn't manage at all. After changing into a suit dress, I dialed Julian's number. It connected quickly, and before I could speak, Julian questioned me coldly. Serafina, what on earth are you thinking? Using the company IP to send our strategic plan. Just because I let you get some sun. You've watched Xianlang Group grow, you should know that you can't leak company secrets even if you're unreasonable. How can you be so vindictive? Do you know that you're making it impossible for the company to move forward now? Lila has been working for over 10 consecutive hours to clean up the mess you've caused. Only 10 hours, and he's already so concerned. But back then, I worked day and night for a whole week to land those difficult clients. I fainted in the middle of the night due to overwork, and the cleaning lady called 120 for me. But all I got in return was his dismissive comment. This is what you should be doing. I listened to him quietly, then asked softly. I leaked the secrets? Is that what Lila said? There was silence on the other end. I calmly put on my black stockings, covering the ugly scars on my legs. Actually, the doctor told me that the scars on my body could be removed through cosmetic surgery. But I don't want to forget so soon. Those ugly scars, like crawling worms and snakes, constantly remind me not to be soft on Julian in the slightest. Julian, I've been recovering from illness these past few days. If you don't believe me, I can provide medical records. I haven't been to the company since you left me on the deserted highway that day. So how could I use the company's IP to send the files? Think carefully about who was with you that day. I hung up the phone, the tips of my fingers still trembling with disappointment as I gripped the phone. It's true that I sent the files, but these clients were all painstakingly acquired by me. How much time and effort did I spend securing these collaborations? But while I was working hard for the company, he was having an affair with Lila. But now I've thrown the conflict back to Lila. Once the seed of doubt is planted, it will take root and sprout at a terrifying speed. So let me see how unbreakable the trust between you is. I leisurely had breakfast and went to the company. As soon as I entered, the company was visibly chaotic. A colleague who was usually on good terms with me kindly reminded me. Manager Serafina, Mr. Julian is currently throwing a tantrum in the office. Maybe you should wait a while before going in. It's okay, I'll go take a look. As soon as the elevator arrived, The sound of shattering glass pierced my eardrums. Then came Julian's angry voice. You can't even handle such a small matter. Did I pay you to play? A bunch of useless people. If you can't come up with a solution today, you can all get out. When I reached the door, I saw the office was already a mess. Julian was furious, and Lila was crying. I politely knocked on the door, and the sounds inside stopped abruptly. Come in, Mr. Julian seems to be very busy. Serafina? Looking at Julian's exhausted face, I raised the corners of my mouth in satisfaction. Just a little setback and he's already so drained. But Julian, this is just the beginning. Serafina, have you recovered? Almost, but it seems like there are some problems at the company. As soon as I finished speaking, the office fell silent. Just as I was about to break the silence, Lila, who was sitting on the floor, suddenly got up and rushed towards me. It's all you. You deliberately set this up, and deliberately slandered me with Julian? You're so despicable. She lunged at me, trying to pull my hair, but I gently dodged to the side, and she fell heavily beside me. The sound of her hitting the ground was loud, and Julian visibly frowned in distress. But he took a step forward, then retracted his foot. Looking at the conflicted expression on his face, I instantly realized that they had already argued. Mr. Julian, aren't you going to help her up? I said calmly, but Julian's expression instantly changed. Wasn't I previously very opinionated about Lila, because I couldn't stand her? Why would I now be so calm about telling him to help her up? Julian's eyes lingered on my face, but he couldn't find a trace of jealousy. For some reason he felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. He paused for half a second and spoke again. Serafina, men and women are different, it's not convenient for me. Hearing that, I almost laughed. They've done everything intimate imaginable. And now they know to avoid suspicion? Lila, on the ground, had another emotional breakdown. Julian, you really believe me, I didn't send the documents. What men and women should keep their distance. How can you be so cruel to me? She struggled to get up and grabbed Julian's trouser leg again. Julian, you know I would never lie to you. Serafina must have said something to sow discord, right? Listen to my explanation, Julian. But Julian took a step back and retracted his foot. Serafina and I are already married. Where does the sowing discord come from? You go back to your post first. Manager Serafina and I have something to talk about. Julian's tone was sharp. Although Lila was unwilling, she left. As soon as she was gone, Julian said to me, Serafina, now that you're back at the company, what do you think we should do about the situation? The company has lost several major clients, and the loss is considerable. I sat down on the sofa, enduring the pain in my knee, and spread my hands. I can't do anything about it. Now that things have come to this, how could I still be willing to worry about Julian? Serafina, we're husband and wife. It's only right that you find a solution when the company is in trouble. Weren't those clients all brought in by you? Talk to them again, maybe you can get them to change their minds. In the end, Julian still wanted to use me. But I'm no longer the Serafina, who only revolved around him and trusted him unconditionally. You can see that I've been greatly weakened since I was injured and haven't fully recovered yet. I'm here to resign. As for how to handle this, Mr. Julian, please find someone else who is better suited. After I finished speaking, I got up to leave. Suddenly, Julian grabbed my hand from behind. Serafina. He gripped my wrist tightly, and the newly grown flesh under my white shirt immediately sent a sharp pain. I couldn't hear what he was saying. The stinging pain deep in my skin made me gasp. Julian finally noticed the change in my face. He let go of my hand, and his palm was stained with specks of blood. Serafina, I didn't mean to. Are you okay? Julian took several steps back in a panic. How did you do this? How could it be so serious? I endured the pain and spoke again. Julian, I'm here today to talk about resigning. The resignation letter is already written. If you're willing to sign it, we can part ways amicably. If you're not willing to sign it, I can go through legal procedures. Serafina, do you have to talk about resigning with me at this time? Yes. I took the resignation letter out of my bag and threw it on his desk. My application has been submitted, Mr. Julian. Goodbye. Leaving the company, I instantly felt refreshed. The gloom that had been weighing on my heart finally dissipated a little. After lunch, I sent Julian a message, asking him to come to the house in 2 hours. Resigning was the first step I was taking to get away from him. The second step was divorce. Returning home, I had barely stepped into the entryway when a pair of large hands forcefully gripped my neck. In the darkness, the man's hot breath blew on the side of my face, his voice extremely displeased. Serafina, Xianlang Group is the result of our years of hard work together. Now you're resigning and being so cold to me. What exactly do you want? I'm just tired. I want to leave and rest. I avoided his direct gaze, my voice as calm as water. Julian's expression darkened and he tightened his grip. Serafina, you've grown bold. Rest? Then why did you join Jiatu the moment my approval came through? Are you doing this on purpose to anger me? Julian, you're hurting me. Let go. I bit down hard on the back of Julian's hand, and the man, in pain, released his grip. Serafina. I frowned and took several steps back. That's ridiculous. I didn't want to argue with him anymore. I took off my shoes and headed for the bedroom. But Julian grabbed my hand again, forcing me to meet his gaze, his eyes even colder. I'm ridiculous? Serafina, when the company was in trouble, you didn't say a word and disappeared for half a month without a trace. Now you come back and immediately ask to resign, ignoring me completely. Weren't you always stuck to me like glue? What game are you playing now? I didn't say a word. I ignored you. The corners of my mouth lifted in a mocking smile as I slowly raised my loose sleeve. I overextended myself to help the company negotiate deals, and fainted several times from low blood sugar. Did you ever show me any concern? Just because I asked Lila to buy me a drink, you left me kneeling on an abandoned road under the scorching sun for 5 hours, even shattering my kneecap. Did you see my pain then? Julian, you're the last person who has any right to say these things to me. Julian looked at my gruesome wound, his body stiffening as he released my hand. I thought all of that was within your tolerance. And as for Lila, I've already apologized to you. I know I went a bit overboard, but do you have to keep dwelling on it? I froze for 2 seconds, and when I realized what he'd said, I couldn't help but chuckle. Your so-called apology was just a fleeting, casual remark. I won't mention all the years of hard work in the past anymore. Julian, I can see that you and Lila have a special relationship, so I will grant you your wish. I've already drafted the divorce agreement. Sign it, and we'll go through the process tomorrow. After I finished speaking, I walked into the bedroom and pulled open the drawer to take out the document. But just as I bent over, I was suddenly embraced tightly from behind. The familiar scent of men's cologne enveloped me. Serafina, is this your way of provoking me? I instantly sobered up, but as I tried to struggle, Julian pinned me down. You deliberately started a fight with me just because you think I've been neglecting you lately, and you want me to satisfy you, don't you? You're playing hard to get really well, aren't you? You're even dressed so conservatively at home. Are you guarding against me? You're sick. But Julian was no longer listening to anything I said, and as he spoke, he tore my top apart. The next second, a crisp slap echoed in the bedroom. Are you crazy? Get out. In the dim light, the shock in Julian's eyes was clear, his gaze fixed on me. Taking advantage of his pause, I forcefully pulled the quilt around myself. My trembling voice was full of sarcasm. Had enough looking, Julian? These are the marks you left for me for Lila. I can't even find a good patch of skin on my body anymore. 5 steel nails were hammered into my knee. So you think I can still stay? Julian froze on the spot, shaking his head repeatedly. He murmured softly, Impossible, impossible. I clearly told them to just scare you. There were fire extinguishers set up, to put it out the moment it started. How could it be? Julian, sign it and leave or I'll call the police right now. I interrupted his muttering. This vicious side of him was so utterly unfamiliar. I could hardly imagine how the man who was once so gentle had become like this. Julian's face was slightly red and swollen. He stared at me, his voice low and hoarse. Serafina, what joke are you playing? We've been married for 8 years. How can we just get divorced? Your injuries were an accident. Don't be silly. I'll take you to the hospital. Can't we go back to how we were? I couldn't be bothered to listen to his nonsense. I gritted my teeth and threw the divorce agreement forcefully in his direction. Sign it or not. Julian straightened up. waves finally surging in his eyes. Are you serious? I'm serious. Why? Even after all this, Julian still didn't think he'd done anything wrong. Julian, you're truly rotten beyond my imagination. I took a breath and looked him seriously in the eye. Because you had me exposed to the sun for Lila. Didn't I already admit my mistake to you and say I would take you to the hospital? Why are you holding on to it so tightly? I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Julian, I'm truly disappointed in you. I'm asking you one last time, sign it or not. If you don't sign, I'll immediately expose the video of you and Lila being intimate in the office, and all the illegally obtained business you've snatched over the years. You. The trace of guilt in Julian's eyes was washed away by anger. He gritted his molars and shook his head. Fine, you're ruthless enough. Then he picked up the pen and signed his name decisively. Serafina, you'll regret this. He threw down the divorce agreement and left without looking back. I picked up the divorce agreement and smiled from the bottom of my heart. How could I regret it? This only proved, once again, that I was right to leave. I first discovered his affair with Lila half a year ago. When I went to deliver lunch to him, I accidentally found a pair of panties that had fallen under his desk. But at that time, I believed in him without a doubt, and was coaxed back with a few words. I hate myself now for being so stupid, for not being ruthless enough to leave sooner, to cut my losses earlier. Picking up the divorce agreement, I quickly got dressed. Now all legal ties between Julian and me are severed. I don't need the company shares either. It's time to officially start my counterattack. I could help him create Xianlang from scratch, and I can also completely destroy him. Julian smoked the entire night in front of the company's floor-to-ceiling windows. He couldn't shake the image of my scars and the determination in my eyes from his mind. He suddenly regretted signing the agreement on a whim. But he clung to the hope that I loved him too much to actually leave. Annoyed, he lit another cigarette, but before he could spark it, a pair of soft hands covered the back of his. Serafina, you've thought things thr. Lila. Julian, smoking so much is bad for your health, please don't smoke anymore, okay? As she spoke, she naturally reached out to take the cigarette from his hand. But Julian suddenly yanked her away, with such force that she fell to the ground. Lila looked at him in shock, as if she couldn't believe Julian would treat her this way. Julian came to his senses, looked at her with a complex expression for a long time, but ultimately said nothing. He didn't know what was wrong with him. He used to have a physical attraction to Lila. Perhaps it was the pursuit of excitement, the pursuit of new experiences. He couldn't control himself and had trysts with her right under my nose. But now when he saw Lila, all that remained was annoyance, even some disgust. Julian, won't you believe me? Let's just say what happened is in the past and the lost money won't come back. Resign yourself and leave this city. I'll give you some money as compensation. Julian, what are you saying? Don't kick me away, Julian. I just want to be with you. Shut up. Don't call me that. Julian, no, mister. Julian, I can explain, it really wasn't. A knock on the door interrupted Lila's excuses. The group of people who had dragged me away back then stood at the door, facing Julian. What are you doing back here? One of them took a brown paper bag full of cash and placed it on the desk. Mr. Julian, this is the reward you gave us. Now that Big Brother is dead, we're facing a lawsuit, so we're returning this money to you. Let's just pretend this deal never happened. He took 2 steps back, then stopped in front of Lila. Ms. Lila, you also hired us to break Ms. Serafina's legs, set her on fire and rape her. You orchestrated all of this. We were just... Wait. Julian raised his head and asked, word by word. Didn't I tell you to put out the fire? You not only broke her knees but also raped her. Mr. Julian, we were just following her orders. Now we're facing a murder lawsuit. We have to tell the truth to get a lighter sentence. Lies, you're all lying to frame me. Lila suddenly went crazy, rushing forward to fight the men. You were sent by that bitch, weren't you? She's just envious and jealous of me. Jealous that she can't get Julian's love. But how could she be a match for the men? After just a few rounds, she was beaten beyond recognition. Julian was still muttering to himself. So the injuries she suffered were all because of me? Because of me she was hurt like this, her legs broken, her face ruined? Bang. The sound of shattering glass made everyone stop instantly. And as Lila turned her head, all she saw was a flash of cold light. It was also her last sight of this world. The broken shard of a wine bottle in Julian's hand was now deeply embedded in Lila's neck. You dared to hurt Serafina. I won't let you off. Blood gurgled from her neck. Lila twitched the corners of her mouth, revealing an extremely strange smile. Her lips moved, her voice hoarse, but loud enough for Julian to hear every word. Why are you pretending to be so affectionate now? Did you think of her when you were having an affair? Did you think of her when she was being hurt? She won't forgive you, and I will haunt you. The glass went in a few inches deeper until others screamed, and Julian came back to his senses. He looked at his hands covered in blood and retreated. I killed someone. Soon the police arrived, with ample witnesses and evidence, plus the bribery evidence I submitted. Multiple charges combined, death sentence, 2 years reprieve. Xianlang Group also went bankrupt 2 years later and disappeared from then on. And I never thought Julian would act so impulsively. However, it saved me a lot of trouble. And with my savings over the years, and the startup capital provided by Silas, I started my own business again. In less than a year, it became the industry's rising star. Julian repeatedly asked to see me while serving his sentence in prison, but I refused. In the 5th month of his imprisonment, he committed suicide in prison, and my new life was proceeding smoothly.